Welcome back to Hack the File, Michael Lopez, and I've been gone for a minute because I had my thyroid taken out. That's why my beard shaved and my mustache. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get back on track with the ethical hacking um, series, and I think it's chapter 4, botnet. So that one's gonna be interesting. So enjoy. All right, I'm back. So I had surgery on my throat to remove my thyroid, and I was out for a month. Um, I'm back now, and we're on chapter 4. So we're crafting TCP shells and botnets. The cause is hidden, the effect is visible to all. So I went through this already. This is my second video. I went through at halfway at least. And this has you setting up a backdoor again. We've done it before, but this one's gonna run some scans and stuff. So I'm gonna do it again, but I want to try to do it under 30 minutes, so that way it's not too long. And I'm gonna cut this into as many 30-minute videos as that I have to. So I'm gonna just tell you how I troubleshot it, and then we're gonna move on because, like I said, this channel is about troubleshooting and figuring stuff out. But like I said, this is my second time, so I'm just going to tell you what problem I ran into and how I fixed it. Okay. So apparently we're still in the coffee shop. I don't think we ever leave this coffee shop scenario where we're in the coffee shop intercepting traffic from people on an unsecure network that's free. So we say never get on free networks unless you're safe. So let's just start. Okay, so you've intercepted a victim's traffic. Let's say you discovered that the victim works in a particular company. You decided to break into the company's server and upload a program called a reverse shell, which in our case is going to be our Metasploitable, that allows you to remotely execute commands on the server. Okay, the reverse shell lets you maintain access to the server even after the company fixes the vulnerabilities that let you gain access to it in the first place. This chapter explains how attackers do this and shows you how to execute this attack yourself. I'll begin by explaining the fundamentals of socket programming. Then you apply these fundamentals to write your reverse shell. Lastly, I'll conclude by analyzing a real-world botnet that affected more than 300,000 machines and show you how to write your own botnet. And I'm sure it's in Python, which is awesome. Sockets and process communication. Before we can design your own reverse shell, you must first understand the basics of socket programming. A socket is an API. If you don't know what API is, you Google that. You have to do some more research in that. That allows programs to communicate over the network. There are two types of sockets, TCP and UDP. TCP sockets use the TCP protocol as mentioned in Chapter 2. They ensure that all the data sent over the network is reliably delivered. In contrast, UDP sockets trade reliability for speed. You'll often find UDP sockets used in audio or video call applications where real-time delivery of the packets is important. In this chapter, you'll learn TCP sockets. So real quick, the UDP is faster and unsecure, and the TCP protocol is secure, right? And I think that's right. But anyways, so it's faster, right? And that's if you're making video conference calls and stuff like that, Skyping. So it takes out all the actually the reliability of getting, all the extra steps that TCP takes to make sure that you get your packets, right? All right. Anyways, okay. So TCP handshakes. Internet routers are designed to process millions of packets per second. However, during peak hours, routers can be overwhelmed and delete packets, which is just one way of many ways that the packets are lost. So how is it possible to be reliable reliably deliver packets over the network that delete them. TCP achieves this by keeping track of all the packets it transmits. Okay, so this is what TCP does. Each packet is assigned a sequence number representing a place in the sequence of transmitted packets. If the sequence number is missing, TCP will know the packet was lost, retransmitted. Figure 4.1 shows an image representing bits is converted to TCP packets with sequence numbers. So this is your picture of grandma. It breaks it into binary numbers, ones and zeros, which is, remember, is on and off, and then we call them bits. And if you go back to electrical, there's a certain voltage range. I can't remember if it's a 0.5 volts or 5 volts means it's on, and anything under that means it's off. So on, off, on, off, on, off. That's how we communicate, right? So it breaks down this image into binary bits. Then you get the sequence number, right? So here's the first sequence. It chops it up into pieces. So it chopped it up into 5 packets, and then put them in sequence of 1 through 5. Images, text files, programs, and all the data stored in your computer are represented as binary data. So binary is on and off. Before a file can be or ones and zero. I'm sorry. Yeah, technically, that was both correct. Before a file can be transmitted, it must be encapsulated into a packet. However, TCP packets have a maximum of 64 kilobytes. So far larger than this are divided and placed into several TCP packets. Each packet is assigned a sequence number so that the file can be reassembled at the end, right? Sequence numbers are consecutive, which allows the recipient to determine the proper order in which to interpret the packets. However, each machine starts the sequence with a random number to keep hackers from predicting the sequence. Before two machines can transmit their packets, they must both receive and acknowledge the other machine's starting sequence so that they can keep track of any lost packets. This exchange is called a TCP three-way handshake. Figure 4.2 shows how messages are exchanged in the handshake. If a machine responds to the handshake, it means that the server is willing to communicate to that port. So three-way handshake. So your computer sends an SYN three-way handshake message. The server you're talking to says, I acknowledge that you sent that. Hey, I got that. And then you send an acknowledge back, and then you send data back and forth, right? A client initiates a TCP connection by sending the server an SYN packet, which is a TCP packet with the SYN flag set to true. This SYN packet also continues the client started sequence number. For instance, sending a SYN3 packet is like saying, hello, my starting sequence is 3. What is yours? So you're saying, hey, what's up? My starting sequence is 3. What's yours? Once the server receives the SYN packet, it records the client sequence number and responds by sending the SYN-ACT packet. So it says, I got your packet, which have both the SYN and ACT flags set to true. So it's like, yeah, I got it. Set to true means like a 1. So on is also true. 0 is off, right? There's no voltage, so that's false, and that's usually how that works. So when it's set to true, it's usually 1. Now, when you're doing programming, you can flip those if you want, right? But in the physical, at this level, it's going to be true is on and 0 is off, right? In the binary. So that's why it says set to true. That would be 1. It's receiving a electrical signal. This SYN-ACT packet acknowledges receipts of the client sequence number and sends the server sequence number. For example, a SYN0 acknowledge 4 packet is equal to saying my starting sequence is 0, and I expect you to send packet 4 next. However, this connection isn't established until the server receives an ACT package notifying that the client has received a sequence number and expecting the value in the sequence. When the system has finished exchanging packets, they close the connection by exchanging a FIN and ACT packets. Figure 4.3 shows the FIN and ACT exchange. So now they've already exchanged all their data, right? Their packets back and forth. Their data, they broke into packets and they send them back and forth. Now the computer's saying, all right, I'm done. And then the server goes, all right, I got that, 10-4. And then it says, I'm done. And then the computer was like, yeah, I got that too, 10-4. And they're like, all right, we're done. Ain't no more packets. More packets. So that's how they do that, right? So this is important because you can run a scan. You'll see later that this is a way you can verify that the ports are open, or you can guess. Okay. TCP allows for full duplex communication, which means that both the sender and the receiver can transmit data at the same time. Remember that. Full duplex. In contrast, a half duplex communication, only one party can transmit data. Walkie-talkies are half duplex, right? One person must give up the channel before the other person can speak. In contrast, cell phones are full duplex, and both parties can talk at the same time. Because the TCP connection is full duplex, both machines must send and receive to close the connection. After one machine sends FIN packet, it must wait until the other machine sends a FIN packet before they close. A TCP reverse shell. TCP sockets are fundamental building blocks of network applications. For example, utilities such as the secure shell, okay, that's the SSH, use sockets to connect to remote servers. Remember that. Once a hacker compromises a machine, they can install an SSH server and control the machine using SSH client. However, many organizations have routers that run firewalls to implement network address translation (NAT), a feature that we'll examine in Chapter 8. These features prevent machines from outside the network from initiating connections to the servers inside the network. However, many firewalls allow for the reverse. Machines inside the network can still initiate connections outside the network. Hence the reverse shell. Right? We're gonna hack somebody's server. We're gonna get inside of it. Then we're gonna run a shell out of it, so I can run commands on where I'm at, and then run commands from like if I'm in the server, or I'm in the on that side of the network. This allows employees to access Google while preventing outside attackers from using SSH clients to connect to the organization's servers. Figure 4.4 shows overview of this idea. So just like I said, so the hacker, he tries to use an SSH shell to remote connect into his victim, but there's a firewall here, right? Firewall NAT, and the NAT is the network access translation of address. So it doesn't allow him to do that connection from outside. Now, yeah, okay. So then, but same covers. But I'll go in. Let's say it's one of these people in here and use access to the network on the server. The victim, basically, he can get a secure shell from outside, from inside to out, right? And that's what this is showing right here, right? So he's saying, once I'm in here, I can just go right back to me. Okay. To circumvent the firewall NAT, hackers can install programs called reverse shells on the compromised machine that will initiate a connection from within the network to the attacker's computer outside the network. After the reverse shell has connected to the hacker's machine, the hacker can send commands to the reverse shell, which then executes them on the organization's server. Many shells will also mask their traffic by communicating on port 53 and encapsulating data in the DNS packets. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Let's go in here because I can't. What the heck? So port 53 is used by the domain name system, DNS, a service that turns human readable names like this into IP addresses. The computer understands because port 53 is usually open. So many shells will also mask their traffic by communicating on port 53. So it's pretending to be what on the DNS server. I mean on the DNS port, and encapsulating data in DNS packets. Oh man, that's okay. That's pretty cool. A reverse shell consists of two parts: a component that connects the attacker's computer, and a shell component that allows an attacker to execute terminal commands on the victim's machine. F5 shows the reverse shell on the Metasploitable server. communicates with the TCP server socket on the attacker's Kali Linux box. So wait a minute. So the 405 shows how a reverse shell on Metasploitable server communicates with a TCP server socket on the attacker's Kali Linux box. So one TCP client reverse shell. This is Metasploit. And then wait, where are you starting at? So I'm gonna go here. One Metasploitable Linux operating system socket on OS. Socket on OS assigned port number, IP address, and port number. And then it's going to provide socket. So it's gonna, yeah. So I'm on the machine. TCP client reverse shell. No. Yeah, I'm on the machine. I socket on OS assigned the port number. So it's assigned an IP address and port number. And the TCP client reverse shell. Oh, wait a minute. What am I doing? Oh, okay, so it's going like this. Here, reverse shell provides the socket. TCP client reverse shell. I get a reverse shell. And then I'm looking at whatever. Oh, wait a minute. Network, TCP socket channel. TCP socket channel. Socket on port 8000, whatever port you want it on, Kali Linux operating system. You can read and write. Okay, you can request a socket. Provide the socket, TCP server. And that's pretty confusing. When the client hosted on the Metasploitable machine is run, it requests a new socket from the operating system. Where's that at? Over here. So request a socket. Once the operating system has created the socket, it provides the socket. It assigns it a port number. Oh, where's the port number? Yeah, right here. It assigns it a port number. So I was right. It goes like this. Port number and links the socket to a reverse shell. Port number, reverse shell. A similar process takes place on the Kali Linux machine. Here, which is running the TCP server that requested. Oh, that makes sense. So you're on the victim's machine. You're setting up a reverse shell. It's going to assign it an IP address and port number. And then when you're on your Kali Linux, you're going to request a socket, provide the socket, and then you're going to set up a TCP server. And then it's going to have an IP address and port number, and then you can read and write through the network or something like that. All right, let's figure that out. Oh yes, thank you. Can I get a bread or tortilla or something? No. Anyways, so now go through here like this. Specifically, port number from the operating system. My damn, this looks good. Okay, specific port numbers from the operating system. The unique combination of port numbers and IP addresses identifies the TCP server to the client on the other machine. When you're deploying your own server, it's a good idea to select a large port number for them to run on because the other applications on the device might already be using lower port numbers. That makes sense. The port field is a 16 bits long, so the large port is 2 to the 16 -1, or 65,535. That's the amount of ports there is. I was asked that question in an interview, and I said about 65,000, and I got it wrong. Apparently, I needed to know the exact number, which I'm sure you do. They were like, "How many ports is there?" I was like, "About 65,000." I go, "But there's the top 10,000." I saw their heads shake, and then they wrote some stuff down and basically threw something at me in the interview. If you're curious about, but now I have it memorized. If you really want to impress them, you can just give them this number. If you're curious about what each ports are used for, the engineering task force maintains the service name and transport protocol port number registry, which maps the ports to their associated services. And you can pause this and write down this link or whatever. I can click on it, and here you go. And I'm going to save that, right? I'm going to save that because that's good to have. If you want to know what each port does, there you go. So, sure it has. What does it have? All 65,000 ports? That's probably the top 10. Who knows? There you go. There's your registry. You can study that real good so you know what your ports do. This model, in which the client connects and communicates with a dedicated server, is called the client-server model. You can find this client-server model all over the internet. For example, your web browser and TCP client that communicates with Google's TCP service running. Thank you. And on this IP on port 80, alternate to the client-server model's peer-to-peer model, which is the peer-to-peer model, clients exchange information directly to one another. Self-hosted video chats, BitTorrents are both examples of peer-to-peer. We use client-server models to develop a reverse shell. However, it is possible to develop a peer-to-peer in the same tool. So these are good words to know. We're going to use a client-server, and there's peer-to-peer, right? Accessing the victim's machine. All right, here's the fun stuff. This is where we get into the fun stuff that we've already done before, with some added caveats and scams. In Chapter 2, you discovered the IP address of a Metasploitable server. Now you need to find a way into the server. Once we have access to the server, we can upload a reverse shell to it. Remember that. Wait a minute. Now that you need to find a way into the server. Okay, so they skipped that part, huh? Let me see if they skipped that part. I don't remember. Once we have access to the server, we can upload your reverse shell to it. Yeah, so they skipped this whole section, right? Because, well, no. Let's just keep reading. Remember that the process communicating over the network through open ports. Oh, okay, that's right. So if the attacker discovers one, they can now send malicious packets to the process hosted on that port or possibly compromise the machine. Okay, so this is how we're going to get on it, through open ports. All right. So let's look at that and see. So let's make sure my everything is running. So here's my Oracle VirtualBox Manager. Everything's running, as you can see. You know how to get those running. You always start with your pfSense first. Get that up and running, or else you're gonna mess up all the rest of your stuff up, and then start turning everything else on. That's just my advice. That's one thing I ran into. I had to restart all my stuff, and I restarted them like from top to bottom, and I forgot that this pfSense was my firewall, and so it didn't work. All right, so now everything's running. In Chapter 2, you discovered. Okay, so we're gonna do this discover your IP address again. We're always gonna do that so we can practice and remember which program we use to do that and how to do that, right? I am a big believer in repetition. You gotta do martial arts, so muscle memory, right? And your brain's a muscle. So this video might go a little over 30 minutes, but let's see. Okay, so scanning for open ports. So we're not gonna run this scan first. We're gonna go back and go to our Kali Linux box, right? And we're gonna open that up. See how it's already the right size, so I can see the scans too. So I've done this, okay? So, and then you're gonna have your thing here. Okay, so now I'm gonna click on here, and I'm gonna press up because I already have the command, and it's net discover. If you don't remember, now that's an easy one to remember. Net discover, right? Especially if we're gonna do it 10, 15, 20,000 times, right? So we're gonna run that net discover. Enter my password, and I'm gonna discover the machines, or I guess the little network, the little fake network I set up. We know that, and that's all three of them. Press Control C to stop it. We know that the little one here, the littlest IP address, is going to be our pfSense firewall, right? So we know that this one's our firewall. Okay. I know for a fact it's this one, but we're looking for our Metasplitable. I know it's this one, right? But to make sure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Metasplitable, and I'm going to run an IP config, right? So press return on this. It's already logged in. It actually already did, right? So right here, this etho, right? What is that? It's a 192.168.1.100 is the IP of this, right? I'm gonna go here. So it's this one. That's how you figure it out, right? Now, if you're in the what do you call it? You're gonna have to see what that IP address is, right? You're gonna have to hack into it and figure out what it is. But we know what it is. Okay. Damn, what was that? Okay, so now we've got our Metasplitable address. Our victim's IP is our Metasplitable right here. So now we're gonna do the next step. So, because this one says you discovered the IP address, we don't remember. And like I said, the more and more times we run that net discover, we remember that we have to. That's how you figure it out. Okay. Tools like Nmap. Let me close this now. Tools like Nmap allow hackers to scan systems to discover open ports. Let's begin by scanning Metasplitable server. Luckily, Nmap is installed by default on Kali Linux. Run the following command to start. Okay. Now we're gonna run the Nmap scan. So Nmap. Man, that's not how you spell Nmap. Nmap -SV. Now the -SV, little s, big V, is going to give us the version. So in Nmap, you can type in help, Nmap --help, or whatever it is going to be. It might be just Nmap help, and it'll give you all the commands of what they do. So this one is we're gonna, the big V -s big V is gonna give us the version, right? And it's gonna explain that to you right now. But so do Nmap -v. This is the function that it's calling. This is what it's looking for, right? Remember that. And we're gonna tap. We're gonna put in our. I just press right on that, and that's the victim's IP address, right? Its location, or what we're scanning. All right, that worked. So in here, this Metasplitable is vulnerable. right? That's why it's called Metasploitable. You can exploit it, right? It's a server specifically for us to be able to hack it easily, and then you can change um, the hardness on it. You can make it harder to hack and have less of these open. Um, but as you can see, it says, port 21 TCP. It's open, right? FTP, or file transfer protocol used to transfer files between stuff, is open, and it tells you the version, right? And here's your version F VSFTPD 2.3.4, which is awesome because in the next step I'm going to show you, where we're going to show you is how to exploit that. Okay, so now that worked. You've got SSH open. We were talking about that, and that's on port 22. It tells you the version that it's ran by OpenSSH 4 point something Debian Ubuntu 1 protocol. Linux as your telnet, which this one's unsecure. Linux telnet. Okay, so this is all open, right? So I just ran a scan. It's open now. So this is what it looks like, right? It looks just like that. Okay. See how these are open, this version, everything. The SV, so little s, I think this is an mmap thing where it's a -s. I forget what it stands for, but you can do the help and find out, or you can Google it. But the V is going to be for version, right? And then this one, you go here, this one's S is going to be for SYN, right? And then the F is going to be for Fin. X is going to be for like Xmas thing or whatever. So we're going to read through this, and we're going to run these. Okay. The SV flag enables versions detected, okay, which tells Nmap to detect the versions of each application running on the port. Next, specify the IP address being scanned. Yours may be different, of course it is. This command should run return open port. It's different because it's mine, right? This is going to be different, but it's just telling you that. The application running on those ports and versions of those applications. One of the ways the Nmap scans the ports on a host is by trying to establish a connection with each port. However, this is slow and will often trigger alarms, right? Therefore, Nmap performs an SYN scan by default. Instead of establishing a full connection, the SYN scan sends a TCP SYN packet, remember the handshake, listens for the SYN response, and then marks the port as open if it receives a response. However, Nmap does not complete the handshake by sending the final acknowledge. They explicitly run a SYN scan by using the following command. So the SYN, so instead of fully connected to the port, which would trigger firewalls and stuff and make logs and everything, somebody connected to it, all this S with the version, all this S scan is doing is sending that first, like, hey, are you there? And right? And then it says SYN can send it to you. Listens for the, so it listens for the port to say, yep, I'm here. But then it doesn't say, okay, I got that. It doesn't send that. It just says, and then just whispers to his friend, like, hey, somebody's there, just rob him. Right? That's what that is. So let's go ahead and run that, right? That's how I see that, So let's go ahead and run that. Now, I might be wrong, but that's what it literally said, something like that. Okay, so now, let's run. Oh, see, I've got all these other ones open already, see? Did I just run this? Yeah, this is the one I just ran. Okay, so now let's run that. Let's do that. Press up, right? Because that gives you the faster one. I'm just going to go back, scroll back, and I'm going to put the S. So little s, big S, right? I'm going to press return. So I need root privileges. So I'm going to go back to the start. I'll put sudo in there. Sudo nmap, that one, right? Starting. And I ran it. Didn't even need my day. Okay, so this one ran. Okay. And it's bringing back the same information, but now you notice the version is gone because I'm not running the version. So now it's just saying that, hey, these ports are open, and apparently it's safer, right? So that's what it was saying. Okay, now let's go to the next one. Attackers also sometimes use the TCP FIN packets to bypass firewall. So we're using these packets, Nmap is using the TCP packets to see if ports are open. That's how it works, right? Attackers also sometimes use TCP packets to bypass firewall protections. For example, a system administrator can specify rules that govern which packets are allowed to enter and leave. It might allow outgoing packets on port 22, thus blocking any incoming packets on that port. This means that all SYN packets would be blocked. A hacker could instead probe the port for FIN packets, given that both incoming and outgoing connections use these, using the following command to run a FIN scan on the Metasploitable. Okay, so this one's gonna do the FIN scan because, to bypass the firewall, right? It's what the gist of it I got. Hold on, we want to move that there, and I want to open this show. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go to sudo. We're gonna change this one to F. We'll run that. And was that scan? So that one worked. And it gave me back my ports open, right? Actually, did that give me? No, yeah, okay. So now I'll close this. Actually, let me keep closing that. Alright. In addition to FIN scans, Nmap lets you perform an XMIS scan, which use an odd packet configuration to bypass detection and learn about the system. An XMIS scan sets the FIN, PSH, and ERG flags in the TCP packets. The PSH and ERG flags are rarely used, and the system often contains incomplete implementations of TCP IP standards that don't handle them uniformly. By examining how the system responds to these flags, an attacker can infer information about the TCP IP implementation and learn about the system. You can run the XMIS scan by using this command. So this is apparently for maybe like when you want to analyze burp suite packets or intercepting packets. I don't know. We'll see right now in a minute. So now we're going to run that XMIS scan. Open this up, show this. We'll do the same thing. We'll go here and we'll do X. We're in the XMIS scan. And it ran it. Okay. Same thing. Saying these ports are open. Let's go to this one. It's called an XMIS scan because when you examine the bits in Wireshark, okay, so it's Wireshark. So you're basically looking at, yeah, here they go, FIN, PSH, ERG. They look like bulbs on a Christmas tree. Well, apparently that looks like bulbs on a Christmas tree. Well, yeah, because it's like shaped like it. So urgent is this. PSH is your what? Push set. And your fin is your fin. Yeah. Anyways, exploiting a vulnerable service. Once exploiting the vulnerable service. It's a typo. Once you know the version of the running application, you can search for vulnerabilities that might give away the server in the way. Oh, okay, hold on. Give me 1 second. Close this door. Come on. Come on, puppies. Yeah. Alright, let's go back on here. Dogs open my door. Okay. So this is the most important part. This is what the part I was talking about, right? Well, I mean, it's not the most important, but this is the part I was talking about, how we're going to gain entry into the server. Exploiting the vulnerable services. So once you know the version of the running application, you can search vulnerabilities that might give you into the server in the national database at HTTPS. Now you should pause it and get that if you don't have the book. Type that in, mvd.nist.gov. Now I'm going to click on it, right? And this doesn't really go through the what to do on this site, which I think is weird. But here's your national vulnerability database. Now this is the database I've been talking about every time I say, well, you can look up vulnerabilities and stuff, right? This is the one. This is one of the websites I was talking about. I just couldn't remember the name of it. Anyways, you can search your versions here, right? So search vulnerability CVE, and I'm going to type in here, right? But for now, I'm going to move this over, and we're going to keep reading, right? So in chapter 8, you'll learn how to automate the discovery process. Now, in chapter 8, I'm sure it's going to be cool because we're going to probably write a Python script that'll pull up all this information. I don't know. We're going to find out. If system administrators do regular scans themselves, they can keep up the system up to date. It will be difficult for an attacker to use a known vulnerability to gain access. So you're relying on their not patching software, not keeping up to date, and not paying attention, right? But you'd be surprised on how much of that is going around, right? That's why there's hackers taking advantage of people's vulnerable systems. In these cases, an attacker will need to discover an unknown vulnerability, and that's these are called zero-day vulnerabilities. So in other words, if a hacker finds a vulnerability that no one's ever discovered yet, it's called zero-day vulnerabilities because the victim is unaware of them and so has 0 days to fix them. Or it's not in the national database, or they didn't know, or they didn't patch something and you found it, right? They have 0 days to fix them. I don't know how true that is, but I think that does make sense. But I've always 0 day to me I thought was always that it's never been discovered before. But who knows? I don't know. Right? I agree with what this book is saying. So these vulnerabilities can be profitable. For example, an Android iOS zero-click vulnerability sold for more than $2 million each in 2019 to 0 day firm Zerodium. So people do this bounty hunting stuff and get paid for finding vulnerabilities. Many 0 day vulnerabilities are found using a technique called fuzzing, which we'll explore in chapter 9. For now, you'll use the VSFTP backdoor introduced in chapter 1 to get into the metasploitable server. Notice from Nmap scam, the system is running the VS. Okay, so here's the thing. Watch. No, I can't. So VSFTP 2.3.4. This is what we're going to type into here, right? Keywords. Right? I'm gonna search this, see what comes up, and it found it. So CV 2011-2523 download between this and this contains a backdoor which opens a shell on port 6200 TCP. It's critical, it's a bad one. Let's click on that and see where we go with that. So detail, this vulnerability has been modified, right? That's okay. Download between this and that backdoor version 3 NIST NDV critical and hyperlinks.com backdoor command execution exploit third-party providers. Here's your resources, weakness enumeration, non-effective software configurations. Let's click on see, I don't even know how to use this. Huh. Okay, backdoor command execution. And this shows you how to exploit it. Let's open this. Hercules. So this is using Python. This is a Python script that they have here that you can download, that you can copy, because user Nergal password pass user Nergal, and then the little. So this is the vulnerability, I guess. This thing, that smiley face. Yeah, that's right. So the little smiley face is a vulnerability, right? As a user, you can put user hacker, little smiley face, and then the password is pass, and that gets you in. Apparently, it's vulnerability backdoor command for this version. Somebody discovered it and posted it, and then this is a Python script that he wrote, which is awesome. If you want to get a little more advanced in this, you can actually practice using this Python script, right? That's what I'm thinking of this. Yeah. And he's using Telnet. Huh. Anyways, well, if anything, here's your how to get in, is that little smiley face thing, because that's what they told us on our last one, right? So that's how you use that. Okay. Tells you the vulnerability. Okay, for now you'll use the VS FTP backdoor introduced in chapter 1. So that's the one we're doing. Let's open the backdoor, start a new terminal. So this is how we're hacking into the server. Once we have all the information, we looked up the national database, we found something, we're like, all right, let's try this. Now we're gonna try to hack into it. Okay, so now we're gonna go into our and it is cold in here. We're gonna go into our oh, hold up. This says notice from the scan system. Okay, start a new terminal. So we're gonna start a new terminal here. I'm gonna close all these because, like I said, I did this already. I'm gonna start a new one. So Nardis new terminal. So start a new terminal, and we're gonna write NC, and then the metasploitable address. I think it's we'll run that metasploitable address, and I'm pretty sure that it was. I'm just gonna do this because I'm lazy and I don't like to memorize stuff, but it's 1.100. Jeez. What the really? I think this is where I got it all cracked out last time. paste selection. Damn. And then we're gonna be on port 21, right? Because that's the FTP vulnerability. Okay, so now we're supposed to enter our username and password, right? So your user, I'm gonna say hacker, right? Because it doesn't matter what our username is. This is what does the vulnerability, is that little happy face. Now we're gonna do our password, and our password is invalid or pass. Oh no, I'm sorry. We have to put pass first. So pass invalid. That's the other vulnerability, right? So see how that's hanging there? That means that we're in. Okay, so I use that vulnerability to hack into that server. I'm in that server now, right? So it says, so we've put in this user hacker smiley face pass invalid. When the backdoor is open, it will create a running shell on port 6200. That's what it said, remember? This port number is programmed into the backdoor. If you successfully unlock the backdoor, the terminal will appear like it to hang. That's what it did. Leave the terminal open and start a new one in the new terminal. Walk through the backdoor by connecting the shell running on port 6200. So we're using netcat. NC is netcat. So we'll go back to this. We'll go back to here, and we'll connect to the reverse shell, right, from the Kali Linux box. And I'm going to type in the metasploitable paste selection, right, get off of it, and 6200 is what port it's on. That's what the vulnerability was. Okay, now I can probably run commands from there now, right? Because I just connected to the reverse shell. Now that you're in, so I'm in now. The commands you execute on this terminal will be executed on the server you just hacked. We'll use the terminal later to download your reverse shell. So I haven't done the reverse shell. So I'm using netcat to connect to that port. Okay, so the NC is netcat. Okay, now let's look up netcat because so NC is netcat, right? NC or netcat is a versatile tool that can be used for a variety of purposes, such as port scanning, file transfers, and setting up reverse shells. While it is not included in all versions of Linux, it can easily be installed. Right? That's what netcat is. It doesn't tell you what NC is. Maybe it already did before. Alright. I'm not going to go this far. I'm going to end the video on this one because we're playing around with this a lot. It's fun. Next video, we'll write a reverse shell, right? And we're not going to use mousepad. We're going to use Python. PyCharm or whatever I have installed on my Kali Linux box. So I'm pretty sure I have PyCharm, right? Let's search here. Didn't I download PyCharm a long time ago? Or is this a new VM? Oh, it is. Dang it, I had to restart. Ah, that's ridiculous. So I'm gonna re-download PyCharm because RBS code. I don't want use that. So I'm gonna use PyCharm. I'm gonna download PyCharm, and then I'll do the next video. Because this is a new VM. I had to delete the last one because it broke. And I had PyCharm on here, so I have a video that shows you how to download PyCharm to your Kali Linux box. I'm gonna have to watch my own video again or something. So just you don't have PyCharm, you gotta you gotta have to watch my other video how to download it. But I'm gonna use PyCharm, not Mousepad. Or I mean, we could use Mousepad just for this explanation, but PyCharm is a lot better and faster because it tells you all the errors you're having. But I guess I probably don't have to now, but I want PyCharm on my Linux box, so I'm gonna do it anyways. But I guess I don't have to because I'm just gonna take this code from the website. They have a website over here that you can just take that code. I don't have to type it in, and I can just use it. But we'll do this next. Yeah, see, so, and we'll hook onto this, and we'll do a reverse shell. So this shows you how to do a reverse shell. I'm pretty sure we've already done this, right? But I'm sure they're going to repeat it themselves 10 times. Here's the Xmas, and then here's your so here's your exercises. We'll go look to see which ones we want to do. It doesn't look like you have too much left, so I'm going to leave that for the next video. This is not a really long chapter, right? I mean, it is, but part 2 cryptography. Oh yeah, so that's a really little chapter. So just so you can get in the groove of knowing how to set up a reverse shell, knowing how to scan the system, knowing you have the rudimentary and basic knowledge on how to do this. And I'm sure we're going to do it 10 times, so we're going to get real good at it. I don't have to really explain too much, But what it's doing is it's taking advantage of how TCP communicates. And think about that. So Nmap, right? It's a scanning device. It scans for open ports different ways. Theoretically, you don't need to use Nmap, right? If you know how Nmap is doing it, and this is explaining to you how Nmap does it. It does this, and then it doesn't send an acknowledge back. It's checking the port. So you can theoretically write a basic Python program that uses Nmap. I mean, that not uses Nmap. That uses the way Nmap scans and does all this, and you can make your own little Nmap Python program or a basic Nmap Python program. So think about that, right? You don't need to use Nmap. You can create your own little Nmap port scan if you know how Nmap's doing it. And this is kind of telling you how Nmap does it. So, but you got to be probably you do a lot of research on that. But I'm sure we're gonna do something basic here in this when we write our own Python script. So, all right. That was that. I want to leave this on here because we're going to write the reverse shell on the next video. But I mean, that feels good to be back. It feels good to keep doing stuff like this. I can't wait till I get through this book. It's going to take a while, but I feel that once I get through this book and I'll have enough knowledge to understand what I'm doing thoroughly, understand the basic concepts of hacking, understand, I'll be able to articulate if I get on an interview and somebody says, how would you do this? How would you do that? And what are you looking for? And what can you do with this? And it's just an all-around great experience just running through these books and making these videos with you guys. So that was HackTheFile, and I'll see you next time on the next video. Enjoy.